As an Argentinian saying goes, God is everywhere, but he holds his office hours in Buenos Aires. People here are proud of their city. They say it has the best theaters, the busiest traffic, the most impressive monuments, and the oldest churches, the nicest squares, and the most newspapers, including the Argentinische Tageblatt.
It sells very well here because a lot of Germans live in this area and a lot of them buy it.
The weekly paper has a small circulation, but it's what draws a lot of Germans in the country to their local newsstands each Saturday.
I've lived in Buenos Aires for several years, and for me it's of course a connection to home, with Argentinian topics and German topics. I think it's a fantastic newspaper, and it keeps me well informed.
That's the kind of thing the publisher likes to hear. 90-year-old Roberto Aleman is the fourth generation of his family to publish the Argentinisches Tageblatt.
We think it's the best information about Argentina that's available in German.
The Alemans, immigrants from Switzerland, founded the newspaper 123 years ago. Maintaining tradition is important here. The publishers still approve every article and set the editorial guidelines.
We stand for freedom, for democracy, for the republic, for the institutions, for an independent justice system, and everything that goes with that.
The average age of the readership is 70, but the staff is much younger. Interns from Germany arrive regularly. The Tageblatt isn't a glossy paper, and there's little high-tech equipment here, but that can be appealing.
It's pretty impressive that they've survived for so long through the whole dictatorship, and also that there's such a family atmosphere. You can learn more than at a big newspaper where you're just one of many interns. They take time for you here.
Political reporter Marcus Christoph is on his way to an assignment. A Holocaust memorial is being dedicated in Buenos Aires, attended by the mayor and other important politicians. Marcos takes photos and does interviews. And his story appears on the front page. The Argentinisches Tageblatt has a tradition of promoting democracy and freedom. During the 1930s and 1940s, it took a strong stance against the Nazi dictatorship.
There were 6 lawsuits filed by the German embassy in Argentina. Once the reporters were beaten up on the street, and another time a firebomb was thrown into our printing shop. In addition, my father, who was an Argentinian citizen, was stripped of the doctorate he had earned in Heidelberg.
Editions of the paper with important headlines are now stored in the archives. The paper sold its printing shop and publishing house, and since the early 1980s, it's been published weekly rather than daily. The paper employs about a dozen journalists, but money is tight because its traditional readership, people from German immigrant families, is getting smaller. But they're very loyal.
One Saturday morning when I was in bed, a reader woke me up and was very upset because his Tageblatt hadn't been delivered. So I went to his house and gave him my copy.
The Argentinians are enthusiastic newspaper readers, but even the descendants of German immigrants prefer to read Spanish-language papers. The Tageblatt has a hard time competing against the dozens of newspapers and magazines. Its internet presence is fairly modest, and the publisher continues to focus on the printed editions.
I want the paper to continue to exist, to be good, to satisfy our readers and people's need for information. And I want it to foster the German language, and with it, German culture.
It's obvious that the Tageblatt is a niche product in the saturated Argentinian print news market. But the family-run business is an independent one, and that's worth a lot in these days of publishing conglomerates.